Hey everyone, this is G, and today I'm going to show you how to make a swipe like this using a material called silicone oil. I'll also show you the acrylic paint that I use, the pouring medium that I use, and the recipe that I'll be using. And I'll show you the most common problem that happens to people when you use silicone oil. And if you've tried this before, I bet you've encountered this problem as well. So I'll show you how to take paintings from this to this. So up first is the pouring medium. This is US Floetrol. This is the Floetrol that you'll find at Home Depot and other hardware stores in the US and in Canada. We're going to be using this to mix the paint for the base and for the colors. This is a very thick budget paint called Saks Heavy Body, and I use this for my bases in practically almost every technique. Because it's so thick-bodied, it yields a lot of volume when you mix it with pouring medium, so it's going to have a separate recipe from the colors. You don't have to use this. You can use the white paint that's going to be in the set from the colors that I'm going to show you next. But if you use this one, follow the recipe that I use specifically for this one. For the colors, I've been using a budget brand called Shuttle Art. These are 12 bottles, 8 ounces each, for about $34, which is super affordable. And they give you the convenience of coming in sets of different sizes. So if you struggle with picking colors, you don't have to. You can just get a set. From that set, I'm going to use 3 colors to put my silicone oil in. They're going to be lemon yellow, red, and orange. I'm going to swipe over them with a color that doesn't have silicone oil. This should be a color that contrasts against the first 3. For me, that's going to be ultramarine blue. And finally, the star of a show in a swipe of silicone oil is obviously silicone oil. So you can't really go wrong with silicone oil, but there are so many varieties on the internet and at hardware stores. The one thing I will point out is get one that is runny. Right? You see how it sloshes around in the container? If it's a thick gel, it will work for the purpose of fluid art, but it will be problematic when it dries because it gets sticky and it's difficult to clean. So I would avoid the thick gel-like ones and get one that is super runny in the container. So if you use the Saks Heavy Body acrylic paint for your base, follow the recipe that's on the left. I'll do 120 grams of Floetrol and 30 grams of the Saks Heavy Body, and this will give me a nice base to carry everything that goes on top. If you're not using the Saks Heavy Body, you're just using regular acrylics from the Shuttle Art set, or maybe you're using a different brand, just follow the recipe that's on the right. The base and the colors should be pretty much the same recipe, and with colors like yellow, orange, and red, white will usually come out thicker. So on the right side of the recipe, you'll see that I'm doing 25 grams of Floetrol plus 10 grams of the acrylic paint. I'm using the Shuttle Art set here, and about 5 grams of water. Okay? And then on this next slide, here's where you add the silicone oil. First of all, skip the base and skip the swipe color, the blue and the white. And we're going to add 1 drop of silicone oil to the yellow, to the orange, and to the red, and then you'll stir it in, a good 10 to 15 times. You don't want the drop of oil to be hanging out on the surface of the paint. You want to try and incorporate it somewhat because we want it to spread out when we do our swipe. Okay, so we're ready to start painting. So I'm going to paint on a 6x6 tile. If you used the Saks Heavy Body recipe, you're only going to need about half the paint that's in the cup to cover a 6x6 tile. I'm going to leave it in a puddle in the middle. I just kind of round out the corners and stretch out the corners a little bit to hit the square shape with a circular puddle. I find that usually helps a little bit. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the colors with a little mixing stick and just apply them relatively in the middle. I'm going to swipe from one corner to the other across the canvas. So I'll start with the yellow, I'll put the orange on top, and then I'll put the red on top of that. You'll notice that I'm sort of reducing the amount of paint as I go up because the darker colors like red can completely cover up the other 2 colors. I don't want that to happen. So you'll see that I used a lot more yellow, a little bit less orange, and a lot less red. Then I'm going to take one of these big swipe tools and take the blue, the ultramarine blue, and apply it to the back of the swipe tool and just spread it out. I'm not smothering it with paint. If I turn the tool over, the paint is not going to fall off, right? You see? So I just set it down on the paint and gently glide it across. I'm going from one corner to the other, just like that. Okay, now we're not expecting the cells to jump to the surface immediately. If they did, they would be very loose at the end and sort of very wavy and lose their shape. With silicone oil, how long it takes the cells to appear and whether you need heat or not is a big indicator of how well they're going to hold their shapes. Right, so this is all a good sign. Now what I'm going to do first before I torch is apply some paint in these gaps. I'm going to put yellow on either side, and then I'll put some orange on one side, some red on the other, and then we'll do the same thing again, blue on the back of the swipe tool, and I'm just going to do 2 slightly smaller swipes for each one. So here we go, we're going to do 1 swipe to this corner, just like that. And then I'm going to take that paint off, put some more blue, and do the same thing again. So now we're ready to start torching the paint, and this should start bringing the silicone up to the surface. And notice that it's not super fast. I'm not speeding up this video. It's actually double speed right now. And you'll see that it takes quite a bit of time for the silicone to pop up. This is because of how thick the paint is. Right? If you want this reaction to happen faster, we can make the paints thinner, but you always run the risk of when you want to spin it or to expand it, that they're going to collapse or they're going to start losing their shape. So what I'm doing now is I'm spinning the painting because I want to spread the layers of paint and make them more shallow. The more shallow they get, the easier it is for those droplets of oil to come through the surface, right? So you'll see right now it's still kind of a very modest reaction. I'll speed this up a little bit and we'll torch it again, and you'll see more cells come to the surface. So here's the torch again. Notice how much negative space we have between the cells. And now as these new cells pop up, you will get some nice contrast in size before the big ones that appeared in the beginning and the new ones that are appearing right now. By the time I brought the painting back from where I set it down to dry to photograph it, the cells had grown even bigger still. So we're almost at the end of this video. You'll see now there's a lot more cells occupying what used to be in the negative space. But take note that there is still quite some negative space here and what size the cells are. And now look at this. So this is when they fully expanded after I've set it down to dry for maybe like half an hour, and I had finished the video by that point. So try out this technique. Let me know what you think. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And if you want to learn more techniques like this is exactly the sort of way I teach all the techniques that are in my online course. If you want to learn more about the online courses, they're linked in the description and in the pinned comment below. Thank you so much for watching. This is G, and I'll see you in the next video.